You start a new Google Ads campaign and you're trying to be patient. 1 week, 2 weeks, no conversions. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, no conversions. 5 weeks, 6 weeks, no conversions. Okay, we've got a problem, but how do we fix it? Today, I'm going to share a story from a real Google Ads coaching client of mine who had this exact problem. After 6 weeks with no conversions in a campaign for her healthcare focused client, she booked a call with me and we got to the bottom of it together. I'm your host, Jyll Saskin Gales. I spent 6 years working for big brands at Google, and now I work for you. This is Inside Google Ads, episode 111, No Conversions. My client is the head of paid search at an agency, and I meet with her and her colleagues regularly. So this is an experienced Google Ads practitioner, but she ran into a roadblock, so we got on a call. I shared with her that when a campaign isn't converting, you have to determine the root cause of the issue. And usually it's one of three things. Your conversion tracking isn't working, you're bringing the wrong people to your website, or you're bringing the right people to your website, but then you're not able to convert them into customers. That's usually the order I'll analyze things in. So first, we looked at the conversion tracking setup and determined that everything looked right. We were able to rule that out as the potential cause here. Though I will say, with most coaching clients I meet with, that is at least one of the root causes. Then we moved on to the second. Are we bringing the wrong people to this website? To determine that, we looked straight at the search terms, and here's what we found. At first glance on the search terms report, things look great. The top 10 search terms by impressions were all highly relevant, and the overall click-through rate was solid. But then I noticed something that seemed a little weird. One of the top search terms in this campaign had a 75% click-through rate. And if this was, 4 impressions, 3 clicks, fine, things happen. But this was a search term with thousands of impressions. So there is simply no way that a non-brand search term in a competitive health industry is earning a 75% CTR on Google search. I immediately thought that search partners was the culprit, and my client didn't think so because they never turn on search partners. But we turned on the segment by network with search partners, and there it was. Search partners was not only active, it was eating up about half the campaign's budget. And this explained everything, at least for the search campaign. You see, the agency's SOP, standard operating procedure, was to use manual CPC bidding for new campaigns. Not what I typically like to do, but totally fine. I don't have a problem with it. However, by being on manual CPC bidding, which doesn't optimize for conversions, remember, only tries to get clicks, and then opting into search partners, perhaps because recommendation turned it on or it was just an accident, the campaign had become focused on getting the cheapest possible traffic. And of course, the cheapest possible traffic, the spammy kind that gets 75% click-through rates, often comes from the search partner network. Lots of clicks, not a lot of quality. It was no surprise that these clicks weren't converting. We were bringing the wrong people to the website. So to fix it, my client immediately turned off search partners. Then I also suggested switching the bid strategy to max conversions rather than manual CPC. Even though the campaign did not have conversions yet, this will get the campaign's learning to focus on the right signals and the right placements on Google search. And because we were pretty darn sure conversion tracking was set up correctly, we felt comfortable doing this. But that wasn't the only problem here. That helped us fix the root cause problem of why a search campaign had 0 conversions after 6 weeks, but it wasn't the only thing we looked at in the call. You see, something sparked in my client's head after we fixed that issue, so she asked me to look at a different client's account. In this account, they were running a bunch of YouTube campaigns, and they just weren't sure if they were really doing anything or not, which, fair. We don't expect conversions from YouTube campaigns, but what can you look at to determine if it's actually doing something valuable for your business? Once again, I started by looking at the top line metrics with her, and I got concerned again when I saw a metric that looked too good to be true. A 70% view-through rate on in-stream ads. Let me break that apart for you. View-through rate is views over impressions, so it's like the video version of a click-through rate. Of all the people who are served this video ad, how many choose to view it? Now, a view means a different thing for each of the YouTube placements, an in-feed view, an in-stream view, or a shorts view. So you have to analyze them separately. In-feed means the user is served a thumbnail and has to choose to go watch it. So I look for 1 to 2% view-through rate on in-feed. In-stream means the video is playing as a skippable ad before the video the user was trying to watch. And so I usually look for about a 40% view-through rate for in-stream. And then shorts is in the shorts feed, super easy to scroll past if they want to. I generally look for about an 8 to 10% view-through rate in shorts. So seeing a 70% view-through rate in-stream either meant we had the perfect audience and the perfect creative and everything was going perfectly, or something was going wrong. So together, we went through my YouTube checklist that I like to look at to understand, am I getting the right people to see my ads? First, we checked the placements report to ensure we weren't showing ads on a ton of kids content, because kids don't tend to skip ads. And we confirmed that the top placements by impressions were all quality news channels, so good. Next, we looked at the audience targeting and confirmed that we were only targeting the specific custom segments and retargeting lists that my client wanted. Optimized targeting was not turned on either intentionally or by accident. Then we scroll down to look at the demographics of the campaign. I like to check to make sure we're not showing on huge pockets of unknown users because that can suggest lower quality inventory or audiences. To be clear, I don't recommend excluding unknown from the get-go, but if you have a campaign where 18 to 24, 25 to 34, everything is super low and then unknown spikes, that's a warning sign that something unusual might be going on. And that's where we actually found our answer. The largest age group viewing these ads wasn't unknown, it was 65 plus. And this red flag actually turned out to be a huge green flag because this video campaign was targeting retirees. We wanted it to be targeting people 65 plus. And this is where it's important to take off your Google Ads analyst hat and put on your human hat. Because if you think about it, it makes complete sense that an older audience would be more likely to watch YouTube ads rather than skipping them. The 75% click-through rate in search was a red flag. We dived into it and found that there was a problem and fixed it. The 70% view-through rate in YouTube was also a red flag. We dove into it and determined that actually things were working exactly as intended. This is why it's so important to understand the why behind your metrics. And this, by the way, is what separates the good Google Ads practitioners from the great ones. Here's what I want you to take away from this coaching call. First, establish benchmarks. Start building your own Google Ads encyclopedia of what a normal CPC, CTR, VTR, etc. looks like. I have my own benchmarks that I've built over the decade plus I've been doing Google Ads. They may be very different for you and your clients or you and your business. When a metric drastically deviates from your benchmark, it's either much higher or much lower. That doesn't mean something's definitely wrong. It just means it's time to dig in. Next, make sure you look for the root cause. It would have been really easy for us to just focus on the fact that there were no conversions and say, tons of clicks, no conversions, we have a conversion rate problem, optimize the landing page. But you have to keep questioning your assumptions until you find the solution. My client genuinely didn't think search partners were turned on, but they were. And that's a very honest mistake to make. It could have happened because auto-apply recommendations were turned on, because the client received an email and clicked a button to turn them on, because during the campaign setup process, that button mysteriously got checked again, even though she had unchecked it when setting up. Yes, this has happened to me. I see it happen to so many clients. So even if you know, oh, I'm only tracking that as a conversion. Oh, I'm definitely not on the display network. Yeah, I definitely have that. Double check. Don't assume anything. And then last but not least, you always have to be a bit cautious around any kind of bid strategy that is not a conversion-focused bid strategy, because Google Ads is literal. It's like Amelia Bedelia. It will do exactly what you tell it to do. So if your bid strategy is focused on clicks, like manual CPC or max clicks, it will do whatever it can to get a lot of clicks, even if they're low quality. If your bid strategy is focused on views, like in a video view campaign, it will do whatever it can do to get a lot of views, even if they're low quality. So think of what you would do if your goal was to get the cheapest possible clicks. You would turn on search partners, right? And think about what you would do if your goal was to get the cheapest possible views. Yeah, optimized targeting, kids content, sensitive content, all of that. So think about what's the lowest path of resistance here that an algorithm could take, and that might lead you pretty quickly to your root cause problem. If you're ready to stop guessing and start fixing the real problems in your account, you can book a Google Ads coaching call with me at jyll.ca. That's JYLL.ca. This story was originally published in my bi-weekly free Google Ads newsletter, The Insider. So if you enjoyed this, you can sign up to get The Insider in your inbox every other Tuesday at the link in the episode description. I'm Jyll Saskin Gales, and I'll see you next time inside Google Ads.